So this person asked, am I enjoying this book? My question is, can you enjoy a 700-page book that causes endless stress and anxiety? Can you enjoy a 700-page book that breaks your heart, puts it back together, and then breaks it again? Yeah. Yeah, you can. Earlier this week, I finished Jade Legacy, which is the final book in the Greenbone saga. This book took me much longer than the previous two books did, which you see I have them up here. It's one of my favorite fantasy worlds. This series is unmatched, but I have thoughts and I have feelings, and I need to process them. And the only way that I can think of to process my thoughts is to talk to you guys about them. So you're going to get all of the deets. This is not a spoiler-free review. I'm sorry to tell you. When I say I have thoughts and I have feelings, I have notes. And we're going to go over them today. My first take might be controversial. Maybe it won't be. Chapter 5, Hilo and Wen, Men Hold Grudges. That was my initial thought, right? The way that Hilo communicated with Wen in the beginning of this book really blew me. And it reminded me so much of how he treated Shay when she left the clan and came back. This man is resentful. He's so incredibly resentful. And it made me think about the way that men and women kind of display their resent, because the way that Hilo displayed it was to act as though nothing was going on. He still was sleeping with Wen. You know, he gave Shay a position in the clan, but he still didn't trust them. And they felt it. They felt it in the way that he would look at them or his tone. Women are a little more direct. And that comes off as what men would describe as maybe nagging, because we're bringing up the issue. We're bringing up what you did and how it affected us multiple times. We're not going to pretend like it didn't happen and all of that. It really got my goat, the way that Hilo treated the people in his family. I love Hilo. I love him very much. I think that he was a very complex, strong character. But boy, that man could hold a grudge like nobody's business. Get over it, David. Okay, so my next note was, Fonda does an amazing job writing about complex interpersonal relationships, the nuance of facial expressions, and unspoken communication. That kind of ties into what I was talking about with the kind of subtle communication that these characters would have with each other, whether it was Hilo and Shay, just like a glance or something like that. And that really stood out for me when Shay was talking to Woon, I think it was, the man she married. And he was talking to her, and I think she kissed him or something like that. That's what happened. So when they kissed each other, his first question was, why? And right before I got to the line where he says, why now? I said it out loud because I knew these characters. I know how stubborn Shay is. And I know that because of Fonda's writing. I can kind of predict their behaviors similarly to the way that they interact with each other. And I really, really love that about Fonda's. That's just one of many reasons why I love Fonda Lee's writing style. Since y'all are letting me gush about Fonda Lee's writing style, will you let me read a passage that stood out to me? And then you can tell me why. It says, we can't solve environmental damage until we talk about their primary cause, foreigners, Coben proclaimed. It's time we run away from the destructive path we've been on for decades. Time to stop bowing to foreign corporations, spending precious resources on refugees, and letting Jade leave our shores. Who does that sound like to you? I think that was one of the many reasons why it also took me so long to process this, because there were so many instances where it was life reflecting art, art reflecting life. This is a 2021 dystopian fantasy, and very often it did not feel fantastical. It just felt dystopian. And the world we live in feels dystopian. That actually wasn't the only time where I thought about, matter of fact, here, let's go back to the notes. Corruption in the film industry and Jimmy Kimmel. When Wen and Shay were kidnapped, that was probably one of the most traumatizing events in the story for me. I was very, very anxious the entire time. But at the root of it was this case of corruption in the film industry and, you know, the propaganda that each side was trying to use to win the war, to win the silent war, to win the long war, the slow war, to win this slow war that drags out for years. Deciding to read a wartime fantasy in 2025, not my brightest idea, for sure. I enjoyed it, but very, very rough. And I don't even read war fantasies or like wartime fiction, so it was just It was a drag. Not a drag in a negative way, but a drag. And since we're talking about the struggles that I had with the story, I'm going to talk about the one thing that it didn't deduct a whole half a star. I rated this 4.75 stars, and that 0.15% was due to the time jumps. Okay? Fonda very often will go back in time to give us backstory and context on certain characters, which I don't mind. But the time jumps stressed me out. There was actually a creator on here that talked about one of the time jumps, and this is my note from her comment. It says, time jump, Nico having sex. That was the first time that we saw Nico as an adult, when he was fucking. And here, where is this note? Hold on. They are fucking. There is so much sex in these books, in this book in particular. I was just like, hey, I know it's 20 years and there's a lot of stuff going on, but everybody put their clothes on. They was fucking in this book. Let me get back to my notes. One of my other notes here is chapter 42, Maktar's death in the prison. Did he deserve a redemption arc? I feel like we really breezed through Maktar. I know he had the itches. Okay, we get it. All right, he was going through a lot. But him slaughtering his fiance was so disturbing. And I feel like we did. And there were so many elements of like misogyny. Like they were speaking about her. She was going to be the first hand that ever existed as a woman. And we just kind of breezed through him brutally slaughtering her. And yes, he was exiled. He had a brief redemption, retribution to the clan and helping them out. But his loyalty to the clan was never in question. It was whether or not he was a good person. And I just, in a sea of morally ambiguous characters, I don't even know if I was as distressed when Hilo killed Nico's mother when I saw the way that death was handled. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. Another standout moment for me, chapter 52, Nico meets Barrow. I have been waiting for Barrow to die for pages, but most specifically, when I read the first lines of the book, he's the entry point to this book, chapter 1, and I've been waiting for him to die since then. So when Nico meets Barrow, the man that killed his father, or I'm gonna say he killed him. He didn't kill him, but he is the reason he is dead. Obviously, your go-to is you want Nico to kill Barrow. But Barrow at this point, and kind of throughout the book, is so pitiful. Is it better to let him live in the squalor that is his life? Was it as satisfying? No, I'm going to be honest. I needed to see Barrow die bloody. But again, I'm biased. All right, so I have 2 more notes that kind of sums up how I felt altogether about the story. This is a story about family loyalty and the things that this family does for each other. And in this, my note is Nico tells Shay why he becomes Pillar. He says, even with Jade, we are not guaranteed a place in that first group. If the clans stop defining the meaning of Jade, then others will take that power from us. They'll amplify all the worst parts and preserve none of the good. All of this death and destruction in the book really, really got to me, as I said before. And halfway through this book, I was very angry at the family. It was called the Slow War, and all of these people are suffering at the hands of this more powerful family. And it was making me very angry. It was making me very angry and resentful and not wanting to care about them at that point. I was like at the halfway mark, and I was just sick. I was sick of the Call family. But when I got to this part, it really like made me reflect. And it's like, do you need these, I don't want to call them evil people, but these people that make these difficult choices, do you need them in this world to protect the innocent? I don't know. It stood out to me, and I'm still processing it, honestly. Because Nico's character development really saved this story for me. There's another note I have. Book 3 can't make me cry, because I cried during both books. I don't cry during books, but book 3 cannot make me cry. And then Wen embraced Nico. Baby, when Nico fell apart in Wen's arms, I was in shambles, because he just wants acceptance. He loves his family. He wants this acceptance, but he never will come out and say it outright. He's so much like his father without ever meeting him. It's actually uncanny. But yeah, that broke me, because Gwen is a tough broad. Lord, that lady is tough. Well, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Have you read it? Have you finished the series? I appreciate y'all for letting me rant and ramble for a little bit. This is probably going to be my longest video, but definitely worth it. If you haven't read this series and you watch this video, I don't know what you're doing here, but if you haven't read the series or you haven't finished, finish it.